What is up, everybody? We have returned to Marvel Heroes Test Center. We are back with Winter Soldier. Notice how I am in the movie costume, which is pretty badass if you ask me. I like the chrome on the arm here. It looks pretty cool. Anyway, Winter Soldier's gone through a lot of changes. And when I say a lot of changes, I really mean that his entire kit was kind of pseudo-redesigned, in one aspect at least. Anyway, Firearms, Living Weapon, Brutal Combatant, still the same thing. They changed up a lot of the core parts of his kit, gave different effects, changed up a couple different things, redesigned complete powers altogether. So I'm going to go through as much as possible. There's one thing at the end I'm going to take a look at, which is the original toggles, Expanded Arsenal, Bionic Combat, which are now exclusive passives. If you pick one, you don't get the other. So, there's that. Let's just take a look at the powers really quick once again. We have the pistol takedown. They want this to be the basic for both kits. I've seen a bunch of people complain that there's not a melee basic. You know, I'm sorry guys, too effing bad. The pistol's here to stay. It has two effects. It gives you extra damage per percent of missing spirit when you have the arsenal effect. It restores an additional 2 spirit per shot, so 4 spirit per shot when you have the enhanced Bionics effect, which will really help that build because it's likely gonna need the spirit recursion. We'll call it that. Anyway, still the same power though. Pop, 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 pop. We have Suppressing Fire, which now also has 2 effects. It's the same power, but its arsenal effect is 40% slow, and its Bionics effect is restore 1 spirit when you defeat an enemy. I wonder if that goes up. It does. At a certain point, it will increase the spirit to 2, and then to 3, so on and so forth. Withering Fire now has both, again. Arsenal effect is bullets pierce through enemies, and your firearms powers gain 270 damage rating for 8 seconds. And then Point Blank is your Bionics effect damage is increased by 40% to close targets. We have 3-round burst, which now just has the arsenal effect. It gives you plus 10% damage, crit hit chance, and brutal strike chance per consecutive shot. That's actually pretty good. That'll be really good for the range build that just wants to use the rifle. Still the same thing, but it doesn't have that crazy weird hitch anymore where it pulls the gun up and down and up and down. So that's nice. Relentless Pursuit, still the same thing. Unseen Death, still the same thing. It has an execute. When you defeat an enemy, you get stealth duration, so that's pretty cool. I'm not entirely sure if that's completely working. Underslung Grenade got completely reworked. It no longer has an arsenal effect or a bionic effect. It's just a weaken, and it does not do a dot. That might change in the future. They might add the dot back to it. If they do, I'll put an annotation in the video. Yada yada blah blah. I was wrong. Double Time does not have a completely gone spirit cost, but it's now down to 7.8, which isn't half bad. If you have high spirit, you should be able to work with it. They did change reposition. It no longer... Before, originally, it dropped the bomb, it would stealth you, and then you could drop bombs. And then it changed to, it stunned people around you, and you would sit there and stealth, and then you could run around. Now, it's basically your dodge roll like Black Widow, and you can continue to use it to stealth, so on and so forth, and you will stay stealth. Now, Magnetic Disc Mine has also been significantly changed. It is no longer an 8-shot, 5-shot, whatever it was before. It is now 1 single shot that does a lot of physical damage. It has a 25-second cooldown. When you have the Arsenal effect active, its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds, and the activation instantly refreshes the cooldowns of Withering Fire and Unseen Death, because those will automatically have the cooldowns added to them when you have the passive on. With the Bionics effect, you use it as an opener, enemies take 20% more damage from Brutal Combatant powers for 6 seconds. So it's like a super vulnerability, and guess what? Yes, it does. It stacks with vulnerability. Now we have Explosive Sabotage. This was added into the original Stealth power, and now it's its own separate power. Originally, when they recreated this the first time, you couldn't use it unless you were in Stealth. Now, you can activate it regardless. It doesn't break Stealth. It adds the vulnerability that the kit originally had on the Underslung Grenade Launcher, and when you have the Arsenal effect, you get a 3-second Terrify duration if you used it while Stealth or Invisible. So, and you can just toss these, or you can toss them stealthily. Ooh, hit something. Anyway, here's the mine. Boom, big damage. Sweet. Next we have the Brutal Combatant tree. Shoulder check is still the same. Knife throw, I believe, is also still the same. Oh, the Bionics effect now stuns the target for 3 seconds when you have it on. So it goes relatively slow. But if you have the Bionic's effect, it doubles that. And this power does not break stealth. Bionic Haymaker now has Spirit Reduction is 50% while you have Bionic's effect on it, so that's kind of what they want you to use as not necessarily a basic, but as your main attack in the kit. So, and it still does the same thing, and it does add the awesome, you know, knife in there, which is interesting because I didn't realize, if it's a Bionic Haymaker, why is it using the knife? Animation glitch, sorry guys. It's kind of weird. Anyway, next we have Dispatch. This was your, if you used it while stealth, it would do the duration, yada, blah, blah, blah. Stealth duration is now 3 seconds, in addition to whatever it was before. When you defeat an enemy with this power, it has an execute, and you have Bionic leverage from the Bionic's effect. The power deals double damage and has an 8-second cooldown, which is reset when you defeat an enemy with that power, which is pretty cool. Bionic Shockwave is changed up. It no longer has an arsenal effect, but it does have a Bionic's effect. It's Crippling Shockwave. It gives you crit and brutal chance for this power increased by 10%, and enemies affected become vulnerable, taking 10% more damage for 12 seconds. So you have 2 sources of vulnerability now, which is pretty cool. And it also actually leaps, which that's the cool thing. That's what people really wanted to see. They wanted to leap. It's an 8-second cooldown, which kind of sucks, but what are you gonna do? Concealed Combat is your passive defense here. You get dodge rating, you get defense rating, you get damage negated, you get move speed for 10 seconds when you use a stealth or invisibility power, and you automatically see enemies on the minimap. And then it's like Sue Storm's big invisibility thing, so blah. So that's pretty cool. And then the last thing we have here is the EMP Surge. It no longer has a Bionic's effect, it's just built in. You gain the charge meter as long as you have this as a passive effect. And it costs 12. So I could theoretically shoot it twice here. Apparently, I saved... Oh, I guess it generates charge as well, which is interesting. Yeah, when you strike with the Brutal Combatant power. That's cool. So he's got this whole kind of setup thing now, where he's got his powers in the right place that they should be. Now, in terms of the passives, you will get... when you click one, so let's say we do the Expanded Arsenal. Let's just click it on. Boom.
Another one for the arsenal.
It enables your enhanced arsenal effects on all your powers. Your damage is increased by 15% for all firearms powers. You get damage rating for firearm powers for 8 seconds when you hit with a brutal combatant power. And on expanded arsenal, you get spirit reduction by 8% for 4 seconds when you hit with a firearm power. And it also adds endurance. So the ranged is all about effective, efficient shots. Boom, 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 boom. So let's go ahead and hit. I want to try to see if I can do this. So you can see this. You see the slow added up there. We've got this, there's the 6-second cooldown for that, 3-round burst, now continuously does extra cool stuff. You have the unseen with your precision strike, there's that, and the cooldown on this, you'll notice it's now 10 seconds, and this has been completely refreshed. So, and then you also have the lovely, if you stealth, there's the Terrify, you see the skulls. So there's all that cool stuff. Now, going to the other end of the build, we're going to activate this really quick. Not combat, come on. Not combat, stop it. There we go. With the Bionic Combat, it enables all your enhanced Bionic's effects. You have 15% extra damage for Brutal Combatant powers. You have damage rating for Brutal Combatant powers when you hit with the Firearm power. You have damage negation when you hit with the Brutal Combatant power because you're in close combat. And you get Power, which increases your damage rating and move and attack speed. So let's go ahead and test out some of these powers really quick. You've got Restores Spirit when you defeat an enemy. It's not going to help you. You also have this. It restores the Spirit. So if I do one of these and just knock some dudes around, you'll notice that my Spirit goes up fairly quickly while using the basic. Point blank, extra damage when you're literally point blank. Bada 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 bada. Let's see. Second power here is enemies take 20% more damage, so let's just pop this really quick. You'll notice that when they've got that super vulnerability going on. You have the knife. Ooh, that was not right. So the knife does travel pretty fast. So there's that. There's your dash. Here is your haymaker, which still uses, and it's a combo move, so you'll use the knife and the haymaker itself. You've also got the dispatch, so you'll notice the double damage there, and then the cooldown, your Bionic's effect dealing the extra, vulnerability there, and then that is it. I wanted to use the EMP because it's fun. So those are the different powers that you have, the different abilities, everything dispatched together. I think Winter Soldier's going to be a great character. I do not have any of the uniques. Check out the thread to check out what some of his uniques are. But that's pretty much it for you, those of you looking forward to Winter Soldier. He's in a lot better place than he was before, and there's still changes being made. So, if there's anything significant, like game-changing, I will put an annotation in this video. Otherwise, just look it up when it happens on live. Hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did showcasing it to you. Remember to like and comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Tumblr at RybackStun. More videos as they come along with that. This is RybackStun, signing out.